Hi, this is Bill.
And I'm Kylan from Foothill Beekeeping, and today we're going to be talking about bee swarms and actually catching one to relocate into our new hive.
We found a large swarm hanging in a nearby avocado tree, and it looks like a great opportunity to relocate it to our own hive.
It's pretty common in the early spring for bees to swarm, and they do this for a few reasons. The most common reason why bees might swarm is because they run out of space. Like humans, bees need space to live, so if a hive is overcrowded, then the bees will either split up into two colonies or they will move out entirely to find a bigger home. Bees can swarm for other reasons, and it's actually a natural way for the hive to reproduce two hives from one.
When bees get ready to swarm, they will first start the process to produce a new queen. The old queen will then take around half of the bees and leave to find a new home. When the new queen hatches, she will then take her portion of the colony and settle in, or possibly also leave to find a different home.
Swarming is a big problem for beekeepers like us because if your hive abandons you, then where will you get your honey? But it's also an exciting opportunity to gain a new hive.
We can prevent swarming by giving the bees a bigger space, but if that still doesn't work, then we might have to get a little more involved. If we notice any large cells on our honeycomb, queen cups, we should then immediately remove them or crush them because the bees are probably trying to raise a second queen, and it's very likely they will swarm.
When we see a swarm of bees on a nearby tree, it's probably a temporary location that the bees are resting at until the scout bees find a permanent location. They won't be there for very long, so it's important to put together a good plan when you're trying to catch a swarm because you want to move quickly, efficiently, and try to minimize the stress on the bees.
The bees are generally just crawling around their branch, protecting the queen that is deep inside the swarm. If the queen doesn't get moved into a new box, the rest of the bees will fly back within a couple of hours.
We also want to be careful not to injure the queen and to get as many of her bees as possible into the new box. If we miss a few, that's okay because the bees will follow her scent and eventually come to their new hive. If all goes well, the queen and her hive will decide to stay in the new box and will get busy laying eggs and making honey. We're prepping the area for the hive, and we like to keep bricks under it just to keep it above the ground a bit. We're going to try to keep it perfectly level and maybe even lean forward a little to get water out. Here's the swarm we found hanging in our avocado tree. It looks like a very large one. So, as you can see, we have a box underneath our swarm, so when we cut it, it'll fall in easily. We're going to start off by cutting this branch to get it out of the way when we lower the swarm into the box. We want to make sure and remove any leaves that could fall in the hive because even though the bees will remove them, it'll make it a lot easier on them if we do it ourselves. The more we prepare the area, the easier the transition from branch to hive will be on our bees. The bees are starting to get a little bit angry, so we're going to smoke them just to calm them down a bit. Now we're going to cut the other side of the branch and carefully lower it down into the box without hurting too many bees. We need to do this as smooth as possible so we don't risk losing the queen or any of her bees. As you can see, this is a very large swarm, and they're already starting to move off the branch and into our hive box. It's hard to see in the picture, but there's actually a lot of young bees, so hopefully this will be a very healthy hive. Now we're going to brush the rest of the bees off to make sure we get as many as possible, including the queen, and we're going to remove the branch from the hive. Again, we're trying to be very smooth, but so far the bees seem to be cooperating. Well, that's it. We successfully moved the bees from their branch and into our hive. We didn't see the queen, but hopefully she's in there. We'll have to check back in a couple days. Thanks for watching this educational video in our Working with Bees video series. We hope you enjoyed it. But don't worry, that's not it. We have more for you to watch. Just click here to watch the next one and click here to subscribe. Check out our website at www.foothillbeekeeping.com. That's www.foothillbeekeeping.com, or email us at foothillbeekeeping@gmail.com.